Hello, everybody. My name is Shane Kalinsky, and I'm currently a student at Western Colorado University. I'm enrolled in the Masters of Environmental Management program, and I'm creating this video for the Introduction to Environmental Management 601 course. So, this is the story of us and story of now for myself. And so I'll start off with a little bit of a background about myself. I was born in Toledo, Ohio, but I was raised in Michigan. I'm very grateful for the opportunity, and I'm very grateful for my parents for creating those opportunities and every opportunity I had as a kid. They've been great parents. And so when I was young, I enjoyed doing everything. I enjoyed taking part in everything, trying new things, whether that was eating food, that my mother cooked. She's a very good cook. Or whether that was going on adventures with my dad or sister. I always took part in a lot of different things, and Michigan provided, a great place to do all those things. So going back a little bit more in depth on that, my mom is a fantastic cook, and she learned from my great-grandmother. And we're of Polish descent, so we have a lot of Polish food, homemade recipes and whatnot like that, and it is good, and I take a lot of pride in that, and I think it's really cool. And same on my father's side, we're Polish, and there's a few recipes from my father's side as well, and that's something I love, and that's something that I can remember as a kid growing up with, those cookouts and that food. So I think that's really cool, and I like to carry on those traditions. And as I said, like in Michigan as a kid, opportunities, outdoor-wise, recreational-wise, there's a ton. And my dad, he's really into canoeing. So as a kid, I remember going canoeing a lot. I remember hiking a little bit. We did camping. Like I said, just a little bit of everything, and I tried to do a little bit of everything as well. As I got a little bit older, I started playing sports. I played football, and I was on the rugby team as well. Sports are very interesting, and they taught me a lot, and it helped me make friends. And so sports are really cool too, and that's something I'm still into. And as I got a little bit older, I graduated high school, and I was unsure about college initially, but my mother said, you should at least try it. And I have an older sister. She's 6 years older than me. I'm currently 23. She's 29. But she went to college, and she earned her bachelor's in human biology. And so that kind of, made me want to do it as well. So I went to college, and my first year of college, I played football at Oakland University. It was a lot of fun. It was a new experience from playing at the high school level, and it was a lot of fun. And so my freshman year, I was undeclared as a major. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. But then, as cliche as it sounds, my freshman summer, my friend and I drove out to California, and we went to Yosemite National Park. And that park really kind of set it off for me. It really made me realize, what's out there, the nature aspect of things, and what you can do, and how big those areas are. And so that really tipped me off, and when I came back, I had declared as a biology major, and my goal is to gear it towards, working for the Department of Natural Resources, environmentalism, things like that. And as I reflected on my childhood and whatnot, I was like, okay, like I did a lot of outdoor things, and it's kind of in my heart and in my core that's where I'm at. And so I believe I made the right decision, and I just graduated from Oakland University. It's in the suburbs of Detroit, just this past April. So I earned my Bachelor's of Science in Biology. I'm really proud of that, and I applied to Western Colorado, and I was accepted to this program, and I'm super excited for this opportunity. So that's just a brief background about myself. So jumping into the initial question that we had, what kind of community do you associate yourself with? And yeah, I think I associate myself with a lot of different communities. I mean, you can go as broad as, taking pride in the Midwestern states, or you can go down to, being part of the skiing community. I love to ski, downhill skiing. I love to do that. I'm part of the athlete community. I'm part of the football community. I'm part of, the ecology club at Oakland University. You can consider that a community. As I said, even as a kid, and even still now, I still try to take part in everything and just gain a little bit of experience, knowledge, tidbits, whatever it is. I just try to, immerse myself in it. But I forget where I was going with this. But I think the biggest thing for me is, backpacking. Backpacking is one of my biggest hobbies, and that's what I love to do. And along with that, I really like to identify plants. I like to identify trees, but I'm really interested in identifying plants, especially of the edible arrangement, or edible kind, excuse me. Because I think it's super cool that you can go out into wilderness and identify these plants and be able to consume them. And thinking back, like in the history side of things, just like how people survived with in nature and things like that, and hunting. I think hunting, even if there's a lot of animals, it's very difficult to achieve that. So you're gonna have to rely on plants, and I think it's really cool. And I always try to identify as much as I can and learn as much as I can when I'm out there. And so that really brought me to the point that I consider myself mostly part of the environmentalism community. That I feel like that's the biggest community that I can associate with, the strongest one that I can associate with. And I can think of a few moments when you're out in nature, or myself, I was out in nature, and you kind of like become at peace with nature. You take a moment and you step back and you really realize what you're looking at and what you're doing and where you're at. I can think of a specific instance when I was in Glacier National Park. I worked there for a summer, and I was backpacking by myself, and I got to my campsite. I was on this little peninsula out at this lake, and the sun was setting, so it was a beautiful, beautiful night. And I was just standing there, and I was viewing the mountains, and I was just taking it in. I kind of felt my breathing just slow down. And I had this realization of where I was, what I was doing, how I was doing it, and what I was looking at. And it just blew my mind. And at that moment, and as well as a few others, at that specific moment, I felt really close with nature, and I felt like I belonged there, and I felt passionate about it. So that's the community that I believe I belong in strongly. And so that kind of brings me on to the next question that we had. So that brings me to the point of what challenge did I bring to my community. And I believe my answer, it's not necessarily directly directed at my community, but it's directed from my community. And that's just to gain more people into it, into environmentalism, and to make this community stronger. And I think a big problem is that a lot of people who aren't on board with environmentalism or climate change, whatever you want to call it, I think they kind of fail to realize how damaged, or maybe not how damaged, but how small natural areas that we have. Because you can think like, oh, okay, we have a national park out there. It's so many odd acres. Like, that's a large area. Now, that's nature. There you go. You have it. That's a little area set off. But I think at a broad scale, you need more than just those small areas. You need more than just a small state park around here. You need a larger chunk of continuous forest for animals, for species, whatever it may be. And so I think, you can see all these pictures of the beautiful parks and the beautiful scenery and like all these great areas, but you don't see the negative side of things. Whether those areas are being trampled by tourists, or whether that's the only area that we have in a protected area or something like that. So I think Carl Sagan really gave me this idea, and I think he did a really good job, and he had a really good idea with his TV show called The Cosmos, to try to educate the public on science and try to educate the public on what's going on in the world and why things are happening, what's happening. And I think that needs to happen with environmentalism too. I mean, people are definitely trying. I think there's been forefront in it that's happening, but that's where my passion lays, and that's the challenge that I bring to my community. That's the challenge I bring to myself, and I've been struggling with that myself lately. I work for the Department of Natural Resources right now of Michigan, and I'm part of the stewardship crew, so we do a lot of invasives removal, land management, you name it. We do a lot of stuff like that, and just identifying all these invasive plants. I'm kind of sitting here and we spray herbicide and whatnot at these parks, and I'm kind of struggling myself, how much is too much interaction, how much is not enough. Some of these areas we go to, they're just ravaged with invasive species, and we're just targeting one species at a time, and it's like, okay, well, if we kill off this one species, there's 10 others here that are just destroying these woods. So what's the good? What is that really making it better, or what? And I understand that some other areas that we are treating, there might only be one or two invasives there, and when we treat them, we make that area better, and you're able to see it. But yeah, so that's something I'm struggling with, and and not even just invasives, just land management as a whole, and wilderness, and what have it. How much is too much interaction, and that's something that I'm like researching right now, I guess, or like reading about myself right now, and that's something I'm interested in learning, through this program and through Western Colorado, and I believe we have so already a little bit, especially reading a lot of history, with the readings that we have for class, history and how people did it, how it's changed, and what's going on. So yeah, that's the challenge I bring to my community, and that's the kind of question I have for myself as well, and a question I hope to learn more about and eventually come up with an answer for. But yeah, so that's me, and that's the story of myself, and I hope to learn a lot more, and yeah, thank you. So I apologize. My computer is bogged down. I think I have too many pictures downloaded on it, and it's just not operating well. So I'm creating this video on my phone. It's kind of raw and just straight up video. But I just realized, what kind of, the question asked, what kind of future do I envision with the question I have. So I believe, as I said, the big question is how much is too much interaction. And so in the future, to solve these problems, to solve this interaction, I want to, my end goal would be work for, the U.S. Forest Service, Department of Natural Resources, something along those lines, in a management position, whether it's an ecologist, biologist. I mean, that's what I'm geared towards. And I'm really geared towards the research, too. I enjoy doing that, and I enjoy that aspect of it. So I guess my goal would be to experiment with new ways and find new ways to manage land that may not have as much of an impact. For example, logging. I read this article one time, and when you log an area, that heavy machinery will compact the soil really bad, and that's bad for fungi. So fungi struggle with that because the soil is compacted, destroys their mycelium, whatever it may be. I'm not exactly sure. But one thing that the article mentioned is that logging when there is permafrost on the ground, or logging in the wintertime, something along those lines, that helps reduce the compaction of the soil. And so in turn, obviously we need those resources of trees and paper and wood. But if we can do it in a better, smarter way, such as when there's frost on the ground to help the compaction of the soil, then we should explore those opportunities. So that's just an idea I had in my head, and that's what I hope to do, is try to find alternative ways to help preserve, but at the same time gain our resources, and at the same time, provide recreation facilities and areas to still participate in. So excuse me. So yeah, that's my goal, and thank you.